It was a cold winter night, the kind that bites through layers of clothes and finds its way into your bones. The city slept under the glow of streetlights, but not everyone had a bed to rest on. Beneath a bridge, a woman wrapped herself in an old gray blanket, shivering as the wind howled. Her name was Meyer Turner, once a school teacher, now just another forgotten face among the thousands struggling to survive. Her eyes, though tired, still carried a flicker of warmth, a spark that refused to die no matter how hard life tried to extinguish it. She watched people pass by during the day, unnoticed, unseen. But that night, fate was quietly preparing something that would change not just her life, but the hearts of millions. Movie camera. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing good even when no one's watching, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. The night deepened, and Meyer sat close to the barrel fire with a few other homeless souls, sharing what little warmth they could find. Her stomach ached with hunger, but she had learned to ignore it. The world had forgotten her after her husband's death and the hospital bills that swallowed everything she had. She'd lost her apartment, her job, her dignity, yet she clung to hope. That's what made her different. That night, as snow began to fall, Meyer heard a faint sound, something between a cry and a cough. She turned, thinking it was the wind, but then she saw smoke, thick and black, curling from a building across the street. It was a small old apartment block, one she often sat beside during the day. At first, she hesitated. Who would believe her? Who would listen to a homeless woman yelling in the night? But then, a scream pierced through the air, the unmistakable sound of a child in danger. Meyer didn't think twice. She ran toward the building, her feet slipping on the icy pavement. The flames were climbing up the side of the structure, orange light flickering through broken windows. People had gathered, some filming on their phones, others shouting for help, but no one dared to enter. Meyer's heart pounded as she saw a woman crying on the sidewalk, screaming that her baby was still inside. Without a word, Meyer tore off her blanket, wrapped it around her face, and rushed into the burning building. The heat was unbearable, smoke filling her lungs as she climbed the stairs 2 at a time. She could barely see, coughing, tears streaming down her face, but then she heard it again, a faint whimper coming from a corner room. Pushing through the door, she found a little boy huddled under a table, crying for his mother. Meyer scooped him into her arms, shielding him with her own body as she made her way down through the smoke and chaos. The ceiling groaned, debris fell, cutting her arm, but she didn't stop. She stumbled out of the doorway just as firefighters arrived, collapsing on the pavement, still clutching the child. The crowd gasped, and for the first time in years, all eyes were on her. The boy's mother fell to her knees, hugging her child and thanking Meyer with tears streaming down her face. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but Meyer barely heard them. The world around her blurred as exhaustion took over. She fainted in the arms of a paramedic, the blanket that once protected her now blackened by soot. By morning, the entire city was talking about her. The homeless hero, they called her. Her photo spread across social media, newspapers, and TV screens. People were stunned. A woman who had nothing risked everything to save a stranger's child. Donations started pouring in. News vans lined up near the shelter, and interviews were requested. But Meyer was nowhere to be found. She had disappeared after being treated at the hospital, not used to the attention, afraid that the world would turn its back again once the excitement faded. Meanwhile, in a tall glass building downtown, a man named Ethan Cole, CEO of Cole Industries, was watching the viral video of Meyer saving the boy. He was known for being ruthless, a man who built his empire from nothing and never looked back. But something about Meyer's bravery struck him deeply. He replayed the clip again and again, the moment she burst through the flames with a child in her arms. It reminded him of his own past, his mother, who had once been homeless herself, struggling to feed him when he was a boy. He had escaped poverty, but he had buried those memories under layers of wealth and success. Seeing Meyer brought them back like a wound reopened. He made a decision that shocked his entire company. "Find her," he told his assistant. "I don't care what it takes. I need to meet that woman." For days, teams searched shelters and streets. Finally, they found her sitting quietly near the same bridge, holding a donated coat. When Ethan arrived in his black car, people stepped aside. Meyer looked up, confused. He approached her, his expensive shoes crunching against gravel. Without cameras or reporters, he simply thanked her for what she did. But then, to everyone's surprise, he offered her a job, not charity, not a check, but a real position at his company. He wanted her to help lead a new foundation for the homeless, using her story to inspire others. At first, Meyer refused. She didn't believe she belonged in a world of glass offices and expensive suits. But Ethan persisted. He told her that sometimes life gives us pain not to punish us, but to prepare us for purpose. Hesitantly, she agreed, and within weeks, Meyer's life began to transform. She was given a small apartment, new clothes, and training for her role. She spent her days meeting people who had been where she once was, under bridges, on sidewalks, invisible to the world. She listened to their stories with compassion, helping them find resources and shelter. Soon, her foundation, Second Light, became a citywide movement, building shelters and job programs for the homeless. Meyer spoke at schools, community centers, and corporate events. People listened not because she was rich or powerful, but because she was real. Every word she spoke carried the weight of truth that even in the darkest corners, light can still be found. But then something unexpected happened again. During a charity event months later, the same mother whose child Meyer had saved came forward on stage. In tears, she revealed that she was a single mother struggling to pay medical bills. The fire had destroyed everything she owned. Meyer immediately stepped down from the podium, hugged her, and handed her the keys to her own apartment, saying she no longer needed it, that she wanted to help someone else find safety. The audience fell silent, then erupted into applause. Even Ethan, sitting in the front row, stood up with tears in his eyes. He later met Meyer privately and told her that what she did reminded him of something his mother once said: the richest people aren't those with the most money, but those who give the most love. That night, Ethan made a public announcement that shocked everyone. He donated a huge portion of his company's profits to expand Meyer's foundation nationwide. The media couldn't believe it. A CEO known for cold decisions had just changed the lives of thousands because of one woman's selfless act. Months passed, and Meyer continued her work humbly. She never sought fame, only purpose. The city that once ignored her now looked to her as a symbol of courage and humanity. She often visited the bridge where she once slept, leaving food and blankets for those still struggling, reminding them that tomorrow could always be better. As the first anniversary of the fire approached, Ethan held a grand ceremony to honor Meyer's bravery. On the big screen, clips of her rescue played: the flames, the fear, and finally, the hope. When Meyer stepped onto the stage, the crowd stood in silence, moved by the woman who had turned tragedy into light. She looked around, her voice trembling slightly as she said that everything she did came from love, love for strangers, love for humanity, and the belief that even when you have nothing, you still have the power to change the world. Movie Camera. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that remind the world that compassion still exists. Before we end, we'd love to know your thoughts. Speech balloon. Comment below. What lesson did Myers' story teach you about kindness and courage? Myers' story reminds us that true heroes don't wear capes or live in mansions. Sometimes they sleep under bridges, unnoticed, until fate calls upon them to rise. That night, when she ran into the burning building, Myers didn't think about who she was or what she didn't have. She simply acted out of love. And in doing so, she changed not only her own destiny but also the heart of a man who had once forgotten his own humanity. Together, they built something far greater than themselves, a living proof that one small act of kindness can start a chain reaction powerful enough to heal a broken world. And so, as the lights dimmed at the ceremony and applause echoed through the hall, Myers looked up at the night sky, tears glistening in her eyes. She whispered a quiet thank you, not to fame, not to fortune, but to the universe for giving her one more chance to do something meaningful. Because in the end, it wasn't about becoming a hero overnight. It was about becoming human again, and reminding the world what that truly means.